Okay, it's 10 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. We'll wait just a couple of minutes to start, but first introduce, we are here just in a webinar together with the FIWARE Foundation titled Cities as Enablers of the Data Economy and Smart Data Models for Cities. Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like you in these two minutes, you know that this version you are able to chat. So you can send questions while we are talking, and I'll try to answer during the presentation. So don't hesitate to chat here. Just an example. Welcome everybody to the webinar. So it's just a demonstration that is able to be used while we are talking. So the first thing before starting, I'd like to know how many of you could consider just integrators or developers of applications, because if you are a developer, this webinar will have parts which are highly interesting for you. Okay, it's 2 minutes past 10, so we are going to start. Welcome everybody. I guess that my colleagues will be recording the session, hopefully. Okay. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Alberto Abella. I'm working for FIWARE Foundation as data modeling expert. I'm responsible for the Smart Data Models initiative, which will be presented during this session. In this session, we'll have the two parts. The first part regarding the data economy, and the second part from a more practical, in which we'll be browsing and seeing examples of what we are doing regarding the smart cities data models, which we will be seeing the Smart Data Models initiative. So first of all, the goals for the webinar is to consider you a citizen, either as a consumer, as a user, as creator of applications, or as designer of applications. And I take for granted that we are all agreeing that the relevance of the cities developing ecosystems which increase the welfare of the citizens, providing services, creating economy, helping to the citizens to have a better life. And in this webinar, we also tackle the need of standardization as the base for reducing the cost of technology adoption. Not only the cost, but also the time, which is even as relevant. Okay. Of course, we'll explain the Smart Data Models initiative and how can it helps you to your projects, and even this is an open initiative, and how you could be an active part of this initiative contributing with data models. So first of all, this is the index. I don't want to get explicitly into them. We'll jump directly. And first of all, we have to understand the concept of what we understand of a smart city. A smart city is the place, in fact, where most of the people live. You know that around 50% of the worldwide population is living in smart cities, and this percentage is increasing up to 70% into 2050. Okay, so this is a dramatic increase, and therefore managing the smart cities takes more relevance. This is nothing new for you. But we consider the smart city in very different dimensions. So we have the energy dimension, we have the environmental dimension, we have the urbanistic dimension, we have several. Okay. So, and for us, we could consider the city as a data source, a data portal in which we provide digital assets, mainly data, but some other digital resources, to an ecosystem of developers, integrators, other entities which take that digital assets, include additional value processors or other digital assets, and create services for the society. And they have an impact on the society. And in return, this society demands new services, very different, and this ecosystem provides feedback to the city saying, oh, you are not providing this data, you are not providing with enough quality, with enough frequency, and so on. So we are living in this very ecosystem, which is something which, from a theoretical point of view, is being extensively studied. And of course, we are in a growing market. Of course, this forecast is from McKinsey some years ago, and the average yearly growth is around 20%. This is before the virus. Maybe this has to be just reviewed, but the point is that it's absolutely growing. So I don't know if any other markets can ensure you, oh, we are going to grow. We don't know if 20% is enough, but maybe 10 or maybe 50. Okay, so we are in an optimistic environment, even with the current crisis due to the virus. And our approach for managing this kind of city, a digital city, is to approach as a digital twin. What is a digital twin? A digital twin is a representation of every asset, or most of the relevant assets in a city. So, and they are characterized by properties and relationship between the different entities that we are modeling. So if we are modeling a street light, a building, the traffic flow, all these things can be modeled as a digital twin. And the context is the question to all these entities on how the things are going on. So how the street is plenty of people, how the road is plenty of cars, or what is the environment and what's the weather. And all these digital twins allows you to manage smartly the city. And in order to manage this, what we need, in order to make it feasible, because from the theoretical point of view, this is easy, but from the practical point of view, you need two things for making this feasible and affordable: a standard API, which allows you to make that query to the environment, to your digital twins, and to say how are you going, how the things are going on, and share data models. Because if you have a common mechanism for retrieving information, but you don't share the structure of the information, then of course you get the information, but you cannot connect with your system, and therefore what you have is a problem, or you need to create some kind of adapter, which, and in return, it takes you resources, cost money, cost time, and limit the ability that you have of managing the city. And in order to manage the city, we have to model everything, or the elements that we are interested in the city. So we can model a shop, a citizen, an incident, a claim, a bus, because we can not only model physical objects, but also conceptual elements like an incident or the flow of people, or these kind of things. And this conceptual approach allow us to make queries to these digital twins and to get the information in real time, because this is another relevant point. What we need is to be able to manage the information in the time that we need. Because if we have, I'm going to exaggerate with an example, if we get the traffic 1 hour later, it's useless, because the traffic jam already happened and the discussed for the citizens already been produced. Okay, so we need the information in time, and of course with models which allow us to forecast what is going to happen and to take preventive measures. In what context? In 3 different contexts. So first context is to create a smart solution, maybe a vertical solution, like for managing the environmental issues across a city, or to integrate very different systems within our management. So we want to integrate, let's say, the traffic flow with a weather forecast, with any kind of a spectacle that could collapse, like a football match or these kind of things, and then to get all together in order to produce and to manage the city. And this is the second scenario. But the third scenario is when you, the city manager, or some integrator, has to connect with external systems out of your environment. Like as a city, you need energy, and of course you will have to connect with the energy supplier, with the water supplier, and these kind of things. And this approach is called system of systems, or integration data across organization. So in all these situations, what we have is that this approach of having a shared API, shared common data models, allow us to manage properly the city. Okay, and with these entities defines, we can use a piece of software named the context broker, which is the piece of software which is capable of making queries to these entities which are representing the assets in your city. Okay, and once we agree that we have to manage the city with these elements, now let's take a look at why is this important standardization. First of all, I have to point out that the FIWARE Foundation is one of the supporters of a standard, NGSI standard. NGSI standard is an API standardization, open, and now standardized by the ETSI standardization body, which is taking care of the specification on a daily basis. And I promise that it's on a daily basis because I'm attending meetings twice, 3 times a week. Okay, and this standard has been endorsed by the European Commission as a building block for building European facilities. And therefore, whenever there is some, let's say, cross-country or integration system, this kind of software element is being endorsed. And of course, is also considering NGSI standard the reference architectures by GSMA on the API versions that is already being developed by TM Forum. And all these together is conforming a new way of standardizing common smart data models. Another point that I have to point out that is that we are, let's say, in a disruptive moment in terms of standardization. Currently, we have been living within a standardization, let's call it classic, in which standardization bodies are created the standards. This is nice. This is nice, and we have been living for years with this. But it is also true that we are suffering the lack of updates of these standards. So when we have a standardization body, we have a committed team in a well-balanced participatory working groups in which we have producers, consumers, and so on. Okay, that's very good, and have very strict reviews, and the standards are very sound and good. But the point is that this is slow. This is not market speed. And what is happening is if you have a standard which is not at market speed, then, okay, it's useless. It's a very good standard, but it's outdated. It's not meeting the needs that you have. What we are doing in the Smart Data Initiative is creating de facto standards, but with an open approach, okay, in which groups of people and groups of actual users, not theoretical, are providing their experience. And what we do is just the consolidation of this knowledge. And we are able to do it with quick reviews and evolution to the moment of it is required. And therefore, maybe the smart data models that we're providing are not as sound in terms of gathering all the requirements of every actor, but it's on time. So you can use it and you can review it and you can participate into the changes. And now let's start with the second part of the speech, which is more the practical one. Okay, so first of all, I have to tell you what is the Smart Data Models Initiative, the structure, and is based in a scenario in which that you supposedly you are creating or integrating any kind of service application. Okay, and let's think about it. What will happen when you have finished this project, and what will happen to the data models that you have created? Okay, nobody will care of it. If you have to update it, okay, you have to do it by yourself. If somebody is asking you, oh, please, why don't you make this interpretable with this new standard or this new regulation or with other initiatives? Okay, let's say Inspire or ESC's 61970 or other things. Okay, what will happen? So what will happen is that you have to afford these costs, and sometimes you don't have the resources for doing so. So maybe, and this is the key element of the Smart Data Models Initiative, would be much better to do it together with other people in an open approach, because you are saving time and efforts. Okay, and these are the principles of the Smart Data Models Initiative. So it's a community site in which we create detailed data models. We are doing this not individually between FIWARE Foundation and TM Forum, which are the supporters, but with many other relevant organizations into the different domains, into the different industrial sectors, because we do not have the knowledge for understanding what are the requirements. But we can do, and we do, is just to provide coherence and consistency between the data models across the different domains. So let's put an example. If we create a property, a field in a database, which is named temperature, this temperature will be always, let's say, a number independently of the data model that you are using, and the number, the same type of number. So it does not make sense that temperature in some data model means 30 degrees centigrade, and in the other will be warm, hot, cold, or something like that. Because if you connect one source of data with the other for the temperature, then you won't be connecting anything at all. Okay, but the other point is that to create these data models with an agile standardization. Okay, so that we cannot dedicate months or years just for tiny changes. So we have to be quick. And the other point, which is the very relevant for the people, is that these data models are open. Okay, that you can use it as much as you can adapt to your needs as much as you need, and you can share that needs whenever you need. Okay, this is the concept of open source applied to data models. Okay, and the other relevant point is that it has to be based in real cases scenario and based on real use cases, because you only realize what is actually required once you are using it. Because let's say on the design desk, it's very easy to create a data model. Anybody can do it. But when you are going to implement it, you realize that some points are very, very different from expected. And last but not least, we are not trying to reinvent the wheel. So we are not creating data models for the sake of creating. Most of the cases, what we do is just to provide, let's say, the last mile connection between a regulation and something that you can implement. So there is plenty of standards around there in which you have defined this should be the element that you have to consider for managing the street light, the road, or whatever. But you don't have the precise definition of the properties, what type of fields, what type of data you have to include there. And what we do is just to take this last step from the standards to the actual implementation. Okay, and now let's move into browsing what is actually available for you. We have, let's say, two web resources. First of all, is more oriented to developers, which is in GitHub, you can browse all the data models. And what I'm going to do right now is just to browse effectively. Okay. Here we are. Okay. This is the website. Let me put it in full screen. Oh, sorry. No, this is not the first that I want to show you. Let me put it. Okay. Sorry. Here we are. So this is the repository at GitHub. You can see that there is a specific domain for the smart cities, okay? And inside this domain, there are several subjects, okay? This is the structure referred to parking, to buildings, to park and gardens, and so on, so on. These are sub-repository. For those familiar with GitHub, they are sub-repositories of the main repository. If we get into, let's say, street lighting, we can see some directories. And in every directory, what we have is just different data models. And what is included into a data model, let's say street light? So first of all, what we have is a definition of a street light. Okay, this definition, these are the properties defined, okay? Or we can see it in a more interactive way, okay? Let me go back a bit. Okay, there's an interactive specification, okay, in which we have, let's say, it's more readable, it's a bit interactive, so you can understand what every property which is defined, what type of property, what is the meaning, so anything that you need in order to understand. But you also have examples, okay? Here you in the README, which is generated automatically, you have some examples of the values, okay? This is an example of a payload for these properties that we have defined. And not only this, but we have also here just a schema. A JSON schema is a technical resource which allows you to validate if a specific payload is meeting the definition of the data model. So I don't know if you are familiar with, but we are defining the properties of a street light, which is the circuit, the relation with other with the street light model, with the control cabinet that this street light is controlled by, the status, the power state, and so on. Okay, we have a list of properties. So this is available for every data model that is contained into the Smart Data Models Initiative. Okay. Additionally, into this subject, what you have is the list of contributors. Okay, that have been providing. These are the people who actually, and you can be listed if you wish to. So it's not anything compulsory. Okay, that's a first browse of the GitHub repository, but we have also a resource for people who is not that expert at data modeling, which is a web page. This is a WordPress website. Let me put it into full. And in this website, what we have is, let's say, and updates some technical resources for managing these data models. And let me point out to some of the resources. The first that you have in our front page is a database for searching for any technical element into a data model. So if we look for light from a street light, as you can see, I've written here in this form, and then it's found that we have a street light data model, and every element that has light into the definition of the data model or in the property is being listed here, okay? Additionally, okay, we have 6 pages, oh my God. So it's a huge amount of information. And here you have a direct link to the data model. So if we click here, we will go to the same place where we were before. So maybe if you wish, you can go directly from the website, which is not for developers, to the developer part, okay? And it's automatically connected. Another resource that we have here is just the subscription service. So the subscription service allows you to keep informed about what is going on, what is happening in the referring to the data models. We have here a resource, which are the news, in which is telling you if these data models has been updated or what is going on or what is happening. Let's just browse about something about the last news. So we are expecting new data models for risk assessment. Maybe it's interesting for you. There is a huge contribution of new data models, which are into incubated repository that I'm going to explain. These are for battery, for energy, for environment, for ports, and for smart cities. Okay, so these are coming, and all of them are into a repository which is called harmonization. Let's go for some of them. Okay, click here. Okay. And this is the first contribution. This repository, which is called harmonization, is a special repository in which we have data models which are being accepted, but is missing some kind of documentation, examples, or have any kind of issue. So if we go directly here, what we see, all these data models are expecting to be completed in order to be listed as official data models. Okay, and we have a previous example which we call incubated for those data models which are being defined by organizations, and they are wishing, oh, I guess that we should create a data model, and they are in the path of creating it. Let me go here and look. This is the main part. We look for incubated, and this is the incubated repository. I haven't explained that much, but I have to point out that this initiative is not only for smart cities, it's cross-domain, which is something, in fact, very useful for smart cities. Because a smart city, as I've explained at the beginning, has many dimensions. So the weather is affecting the smart city, of course. The environment is affecting the smart city, and many other things are affecting the smart city. Therefore, having only data models for the pure things related with the smart city maybe is not enough for us in order to create the applications or the services that we need to. What we are seeing here is just a list of directories. Some of them have many other initiatives, many other directories at the same time, for people who is creating brand new things for the Smart Data Models Initiative. Maybe most of them will finish into the official repository, but it is also possible that some of them will not. Okay, but we are if we just review this, we see that some other data models could be are into the smart cities domain, like building type, device operation, the fleet vehicle operation, the fleet vehicle status, okay, and some others. Some others are not really related. Okay, there is here. These are data models coming from a project from robotics, which is interesting. Hopefully, in the coming future, we'll be using these robots into a smart city. So by the end, maybe these data models is helping us to provide the smart city of the future. Let me go back to the presentation. Okay. We've been browsing a bit the GitHub repository and the site. Okay. And what we have here is just a written description, but I guess that is much better to go directly and to see it on the live site. Okay. These are the structure of subjects, and this subject has different data models in it, every data model into one directory. Okay, and let me go back a bit to the main site and to comment a couple of additional resources. So, okay, let me go back here. Okay, here we are. This resource is for subscribing to this news. So if we click here in the option subscribe in the menu, we can subscribe to every sector. Of course, Smart Cities is around there. We just put our mail here and we get a mail once a week on Fridays with the updates. So you don't need to visit this site. You just put your mail and then you keep informed. Additionally, we have a database for searching on the descriptions of the data models. So not only the name of the property or of the field that we have for every data model, but for searching into the descriptions, which allow us to look for anything we want. So if we look, let's say, light, this is okay. Okay, yes. Let me, I don't know if I'm clicked. Yeah, search. Oh, sorry. Or here, light. Yeah, yes. Okay, so this is defined daily accumulated light measure in kilowatts per square meter is into agri greenhouse, which is a data model which is not explicit for smart cities. If we click here, he's going to find everywhere. So into the data model, into the repository name. If we are looking here for just for building, let's say, I'm writing, yeah. What we can find is that there is a repository named building, and these are the properties of this repository. Some descriptions are quite lengthy. Okay, okay, here we are. Well, we have everything here. Okay. Another resource that is interesting is that I've commented to you that these data models are open. In order to make a data model open, we need the agreement of the contributors. And how could we get that agreement? Just with this contributor agreement. I've clicked, in which you just fill this form, which is quite simple. We need just three fields from you, your name, an email, and a GitHub user. And if you are doing as an individual or on behalf of an organization, and you have an organization, you can include it here, or you can comment anything. And once you accept this, we accept that the contributions that you are going to make to the repository is going to be released with, so you accept to be released with the open license. It does not mean that you are giving the initiative the intellectual property. What you are doing is a non-exclusive right for releasing this contribution as an open source. It entitles you that if you are the owner of the contribution, you can release with some other licenses for some other purposes. So what we need is just the minimum rights that we need to for making open. Okay. And here we have the governance document that I'm not going to get into it, but let's say that we are in a very distributed approach in which every domain is managed independently, and every subject in every domain, let's say a street light, an example, can be managed by a different organization taking care of the data models which is inside. Taking care means that what we are doing is just to check that these data models are updated and are consistent. However, there is a global approach in which we check every data model to be consistent, to be updated, and we are not allowing different approaches for the data models. So in fact, what we have are guidelines in which here, let's go just a bit for it. These are the smart data models guidelines in which is recommended how to create a data model, how to create the properties, what types, okay, how to define the units, or how to make links, or how to model the dates and these kind of things, okay? And some examples. Let me go back. Okay, we were here just, and there is also another part which is the learning zone. The learning zone is a zone here for those people who are not very familiar with the creation of data models and they need some kind of help. Let me go here. Okay. Go to upstairs. Okay. And I have to confess that I'm a heavy user of this zone, because what we have here are tools. Just if we have a payload, then you can create a JSON schema. There are some tools for dating, for these kind of things, or to validate if a payload of a data model is meeting a JSON schema. There's some other tools. Okay. Now it's turn to move into some other things which are even more practical. Okay, we have visited this, and let's go for some examples of actual use of the data models. So let's look for an attribute for a data model. Imagine that you need to create something. Okay, sorry, was okay. We can browse here our attributes database, look for something, let's say light, because to find out, oh, okay, it's been detected, the data model for street light, and then we can click here, and we are here. This is the JSON schema, of course. If we click here, we are in the doc part, and we can reach the specification, or we can go for the examples. And let me notice that for every example, we not only have, let's say, the JSON payload, which is used in NGSI standard. We have also some exports, CSV, in order to make easier to adopt these data models, even if you are not using NGSI standard. Okay, because our approach is to be as much useful as possible. Or even we could click here and we could go for the specification. So this is just, let's say, the example of passive requests. But let's go into something more practical. Okay, which is imagine that we have to create an entity which is formally defined in NGSI into a system which is not NGSI compliant. So imagine that we are looking for a GTFS trip. Okay, we can click here and find out the JSON payload. Okay, it's coming. Okay, look here, trip. Okay, this is GT. Here we are. And we have here the schema. Okay. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is just on live is just to create an NGSI context broker instance. Let me go here. It's just a console. What I have previously is just a Docker installation. Okay, I'm going just to copy something, paste here. I'm putting my password. Oh, sorry. Oh my God, too quick. Yeah, and let me put the rest of the instructions, copy. What I'm doing is just creating a new instance. Okay. And if everything goes well, seems to happen, we have an installation of a context broker. Let me just check it out. Okay. Clear. Here we are. Okay, it's working. Okay. So we have an installation right now. You've seen how long does it take? Not that much. And now let me go back to the example. What we're gonna do is just to check if we can create this object into NGSI engine. Okay, I have copied because for not making very lengthy. Okay, copy and paste. Okay, as you can see, this is not that much. This is the example that we have previously, and it's supposed to have working. Let me check it out if we have that entity being created. Okay, this is, oh, and here we are. This is the entity that we have in the example. Okay, what I've included here below is the way of creating an instance of a context broker if you have a Docker installed. There is a very good manual of this in the website of FIWARE Foundation. Okay, so we have this, but we need to create into a database for whatever reasons. So we are reasons because I guess that with the context broker you are able to do whatever you need, but imagine that we need to create. So what we can do is to go to our data models and get a raw version, a CSV version of this payload. Okay, here we are. It's quite simple. Okay, we can just copy. This version is coming. Let me go for it because it's coming from the. Let me go directly here in order to allow you to see this. So look for trip. So this raw version, we go to the data model. We go to the examples. Yeah, examples. And this payload could be this. Okay, you can see this way, or you can see in raw, which is what we got previously. Okay, I'm copying this. Okay, I've copied. And then let's go to convert it into SQL version. Just this is an online resource and an insert. Oh, and here we are. This is the insert that we need for creating a SQL version. So we can copy this, okay? And then we can go into a database editor. This is locally installed in my laptop, okay? I have a test database, and I could paste this script and go for it. Okay, here we are. And then we can see that we have this table name. Oh, this is something which is not from my, and here we are, ignore, sorry. We have created this payload into SQL database and we can integrate it. As you can see, it's not that difficult, okay? And last example, which is even more practical, is that for some of the data models, we are currently into a proof of concept. We provide payloads of example, unlimited amount of payloads. So if I use this link for weather observation, you can see this. These are the properties for weather observation, but if we refresh just, these are new data into different coordinates, different pressure tendency, and so on, so on, and so on. We have this for this weather observation, or for a device, okay? The device which is a sensor of any kind of property. This is a more simpler, okay? Different IP addresses, different battery levels, okay? Different device models, different RSSI, okay? You can get this just for testing purposes. This is not generalized currently. We are on the way of proof of concept, but we are expecting to have it. Maybe on demand, we could create this kind of resources for making your life easier, okay? And just a last point about how to participate. In order to participate, we prefer Creative Commons 4.0, but Apache 2.0, or any other license that is recognized contributions, allow the free reuse of the data models, and do not impose restriction on use and adoption, so that you can share. We have seen the contributors form previously. I'm not going to get into it. And who can be a contributor? So anybody, okay? As meets the guidelines that I've showed to you. You can participate either as an individual or representing your organization. And you, once you contribute, you are entitled to vote when there are some decisions to make regarding the data models, okay? And there is a contribution manual that I haven't got into it, explaining you for every element of the data model that we have commented, how to create it, and some templates, and just commenting some other elements of the data model, which being generated automatically. So you don't have to do anything because automatically there are some scripts, okay? And these are examples, templates, and so on, okay? I don't want to get into the detail of the contribution, but this we are thinking of making your life easier for contributing, okay? And last but not least, because it's time, it's 45 minutes, a roadmap of what is going to happen in a coming weeks, months. So there is a dramatic increase in the amount of data models. We've been browsing previously, but into incubator repository, you can see that there is plenty of data models coming, and some of these directories are not simple ones, but there are several data models in it. So maybe there's around 40 data models coming. Okay, so we are expecting a dramatic increase. Okay, not only in the smart cities, but also in some other domains, which can be somehow related with the smart cities as well. Like in energy, we are translating the IEC 61970 standard, or in water, or in agri-foods, on some standardizations, or some new standards for semantic on tourism, on smart destinations. Okay. Additionally, we are going to expand the distributed approach and making participant of this initiative to all the relevant organizations and bodies, because as I've explained at the beginning, we don't have either the resources or the will to do it alone. So this is a community approach for making your life easier in terms of data models, and making easier and more valuable the use of the NGSI standard. Okay, and we have also into the queue some automatic tools for reducing the workload for the contributors, like the automatic creation of examples for creating the data model, or the generation of payloads that you have seen a couple of examples to have it general, or some additional help on the data model generation and testing. Okay. Additionally, we are also looking for serving the users to get what are their actual needs. In fact, the generation of payloads is the answer to some of these needs. And if we detect some others, we'll go for it. And the growth of the community relying on this decentralized governance. Okay, and this is most of the things that I have to tell you. And now there is a turn for question and answers that you can make it directly by voice or directly on the chat.